Thanks so much again for joining us. If you do have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A panel, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of the session. And so today we're going to have a few different presenters from different organizations. We'll have Nancy from CT SMARTE, Tom from CBIA Energy Connections, and then Matt and Suzanne from Onsite Energy Technical Assistance Partnership. So with that, I will turn it over to Nancy to get us started today.
Great, thank you very much. First, I'd like to say thank you to CONNSTEP for hosting this webinar, and thanks to you all for joining us. My name is Nancy Tanguay. I am the program manager for CT SMARTE. CT SMARTE is run out of the Office of the Clean Economy within DECD. Our priorities align with the state manufacturing initiatives to grow, support the manufacturing within Connecticut by developing talent, building sustainable companies, driving innovation, and fostering collaboration. We know that energy is a big problem for state manufacturers, and we know that there are three components to that problem, and they are supply, cost, and consumption. CT SMARTE is a new smart manufacturing pilot program for Connecticut small and medium-sized manufacturers and is designed to reduce energy usage, costs, and technology emissions. This program is funded by the Department of Energy and the state, and its main goal is to connect manufacturers with free money and advanced technologies to drive efficiency in manufacturing processes and help reduce energy consumption through an acceleration in the adoption of smart manufacturing and high-performance computing. CT SMARTE was developed collaboratively with CONNSTEP, CCAT, and the University of Connecticut by linking manufacturers to these technology partners who provide their expertise free of charge. We are providing SMMs with a basket of practical, advanced manufacturing solutions. These are not one-size-fits-all recommendations, but individualized opportunities. CONNSTEP provides engagement and manufacturer extension partnership expertise. CCAT provides smart manufacturing workshops, training, and smart manufacturing implementation, along with access to manufacturing incentives and grants. UConn is providing two services. The first is an enhanced energy assessment that includes a smart manufacturing and HPC analysis and assessment of a manufacturer's production facilities, along with access to incentives to adopt some of these energy savings modifications. UConn's Connecticut Manufacturing Simulation Center also offers high-performance computing services free of charge. This program uses UConn resources to model and simulate machining processes. They offer digital twinning and machine learning infrastructure. So I encourage anyone who is interested in looking into this type of technology to really check out the program. Next slide, please. The CT SMARTE approach is to give Connecticut manufacturers funding and free access to the next generation of engineering and manufacturing. We are working to provide this support and creating a roadmap that will, in the future, help small manufacturers overcome the burden of adopting the processes that can ensure manufacturing efficiencies and reduce energy costs. This is a dual purpose with strengthening the competitiveness of Connecticut's supply chain. So we look forward to you using this QR code to sign up for the program. The QR code will take you to a short application that we ask you to fill out, and then CONNSTEP will get in touch and move you along the program. You don't need to be the ultimate decision maker to sign up, just a starting point to connect. And I look forward to learning more about your companies and your needs. So I'm going to pass this along now to Tom at CBIA.
Thanks, Nancy. I'm Tom Guerra, and I head up CBIA's Energy Connections program, which for the past 26 years has helped thousands of member companies in Connecticut save on their energy expenses. So next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Really, to set the backdrop for our discussion today, we need to look at what's going on in the marketplace in New England. New England and Connecticut in particular have some of the most expensive electricity prices in the lower 48. There are various reasons for this, but the predominant one is that in cleaning up our fuel mix over the past 20 years, getting away from coal, we are now relying on natural gas as our major fuel source, and that's to generate electricity. In fact, New England's natural gas consumption has tripled in the past 25 years, but we've done nothing to expand our infrastructure. As a result, our pipelines that are bringing us this gas are severely constrained, which causes massive price spikes in both the winter and in the summer when electricity generation is at its peak. This has made for an incredibly volatile marketplace. In addition, in this past year, we have seen an incredible amount of uncertainty introduced into the market because of the Canadian tariff situation. We are getting power from Canada, and as a result, when the president announced that there was going to be a massive tariff levied upon Canada, the prices went through the roof. Okay, then he said, well, we're going to take a 60-day pause. Prices went down again. Yesterday in the CBIA E2 meeting, CBIA held a big conference on energy and environmental. And Dan O'Keefe, who's the commissioner of DECD of the state of Connecticut, said yesterday that it's not the yes that we're doing the tariff or the no that we're not doing the tariff that's killing us, but it's the maybe. So that uncertainty in the marketplace has really made things very, very volatile. In terms of what's going on in the marketplace right now, if we look at the forward strips of pricing, there is value right now in longer term contracts, and I'll talk about that in a minute. In addition to the natural gas factors impacting the marketplace and the tariffs, Connecticut has very, very high renewable portfolio standards, which say that in 2025, 38% of all electricity sold in Connecticut, either by the utility or by suppliers, has to be sourced to a green source. Okay, so that causes at least $0.015 added to our power prices. So something to be aware of. These factors all contribute to Connecticut's electricity costs, which are very, very high. In fact, the highest in the lower 48. Next slide, please. So in terms of what you can control, you already heard from Nancy about some of the energy efficiency efforts out there. We always tell our customers that the cheapest kilowatt hour is the one you don't use. And we encourage all of them to look into the various energy efficiency aspects and programs and incentives out there to help you reduce your usage. Once you've managed that, we can help with your supply costs. And really, the benefits of doing supply contracts are detailed on this page. What we do in our process is we invite all the top suppliers to participate in our competitive bid platform, so you can be assured you're seeing the whole marketplace to ensure you get not only the best price, but the best contract terms. As I mentioned before, the longer term contracts are not only showing the better prices, but they're giving you budget certainty. And a lot of manufacturers out there really need that because you're creating a widget and you want to know for the next 3 or 4 years, how much of the unit cost of that widget should be sourced to your electricity costs. So it really helps with budgeting and long-term planning. Longer contracts as well mean you don't have to talk to people like me every single year. You get into a 3-year contract, I'll be back in touch in a couple of years to talk about your renewal. And one of the ways you can improve sustainability is you can purchase energy from renewable sources or green recs through us, which enable businesses to meet their sustainability goals. Next slide, please. Regarding CBIA, in the late 1990s, Connecticut deregulated the marketplace. And as soon as Connecticut deregulated, CBIA became one of the first 3 broker aggregators registered with the state of Connecticut's PURA. We are a group of salaried consultants that work for CBIA. We're not compensated by merely pushing contracts like a lot of the for-profit brokers out there. We can price the entire market with all available options, fully fixed or index, which will allow you to float and then hedge those high periods. We have an extreme knowledge of the marketplace. We have contacts at all the suppliers and the utilities. We have, since inception, put over 4 billion kilowatt hours of electricity under contract. We are also the only entity in the state that's doing a true aggregation, where we're taking up to 100 smaller customers, putting them together to get a better price, because the higher the usage, the lower the cost. Think of it as the Costco model. We're also doing solar, green consulting, and sustainability, as I mentioned, and we can operate in all of the deregulated states. Next slide, please. In terms of looking at who our clients are, they really represent a cross-section of Connecticut businesses, lots of small mom and pops, tons of mid-sized manufacturers, and also some of the largest manufacturers and service industry in the state. Right now, we're managing about 700 contracts, and we're currently procuring electricity for Connecticut's largest transportation companies who are beefing up their fleets of electric vehicles. And also, we are procuring for New England's largest utilities. Around New England, you'll see various utilities, substations, service locations. They're buying through our program because of the consistency and the integrity of our processes. Our value proposition, we like to say, is we propose what's right for you so you can become a member of CBIA and a long-term member, and allow you to focus on your core business. Next slide, please. In terms of the electricity aggregations that we're doing, as I mentioned, we're the only entity in the state that's doing this. And the recent aggregations we have done have actually generated pricing 15 to 20% lower than the market rate. So it really is a great program. I would encourage you to look into. Next slide, please. In terms of looking at the last 5 years, third-party supply contracts versus utilities, the line in the blue here represents third-party supply contracts. And this is looking at a medium-sized manufacturer, 500,000 kWh a year, and a 2-year contract. And over the past 5 years, that 2-year third-party contract has done consistently better than both UI, represented in the orange here, or Eversource's standard offer. And it allows you to have the budget certainty that you can't have with the utility, because theirs is a variable changing price. Next slide, please. In terms of where we see the market going, we track the natural gas markets daily. And as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, the majority of our electricity generation in New England comes from natural gas. So when natural gas prices go up, electricity prices go up. Right now, this is a slide we've taken from Trading Economics. It's a great site for industry analysts, and they're predicting natural gas costs will go up about $1 a decatherm by this time next year. And as a result, we're anticipating the electricity markets to go up. So it is a great time to look at doing a supply contract. Feel free to get in touch. Next slide, please. And here's my contact information. You can get in touch with me at cbia.com. And I really appreciate you giving us the time today to present to you. Right now, I'd like to present Matt and Suzanne, who are going to talk about the Online Energy Technical Assistance Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And thanks, CONNSTEP, for hosting this webinar. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this program. So the Onsite Energy Technical Assistance Partnership is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy. Next slide, please. It's a national program, and our goal is to lower the barriers for industrial energy users to adopt some of these technologies that will benefit them in a number of ways. This is an extension of the Combined Heat and Power Technical Assistance Partnership, the CHP TAP, and starting in 2024, this has been expanded to include a number of different energy technologies. So you see combined heat and power is one of them. We also do battery storage, geothermal, industrial heat pumps, solar PV. So if it can be generated on site, we will take a look at it, and we'll look at a portfolio of technologies that may meet the needs of that industry. So if you're considering replacing equipment, or you want to look at how you might do things differently, maybe you don't have the technical expertise on staff to do that, or maybe you have a plan that you want a second set of eyes on, we can do that for you. We offer this at no cost, no obligation, and it typically takes us 4 to 6 weeks to turn around a report. I'll talk more about that in a second. Next slide, please. There's a lot of information on these slides. The slides will be made available, so you don't need to worry about reading the fine print or taking notes. But on-site energy can provide a number of benefits to the end users. One of the big ones is cost savings, right? How can you reduce your cost savings? If you have a system with a high thermal load, maybe combined heat and power technology might help you be more efficient in your energy production. If you have a high demand charge, right? If the demand charge is really the dominant factor in your bill, maybe battery storage can help reduce that demand charge. If you're looking to have more independence or more resilience, maybe combining a battery with solar PV might be a good fit. So we will work with you. Next slide, please. So we'll work with you to help sort through all that, because, right, like the introductory video says, right, you need a team, and we can be part of that team. It's a national program. There are 10 regional TAPs, Technical Assistance Partnership groups throughout the country. We are New England. We cover the 6 New England states. Since the last 18 months, we've been working primarily in Northern New England. We're excited to start working more with manufacturers in Connecticut. So again, thanks to CONNSTEP for this. And what we do primarily are these technology screenings. But we also work with organizations to get them information about what we're seeing as we interact with industry on how they might help lower the barriers. And so we're providing some technical information, not only to the end users, but also to the stakeholders as we go through this. Next slide. So I think what I want to focus on today is this technical assistance and the process that we go through. And so initially we look to identify sites where on-site energy technologies are a good fit. So we will work with facilities to understand their energy needs, to evaluate their potential incentive that may be available, and we'll do a screening. These are high-level screenings. These are, we will often visit a site, but we don't need to visit a site. And then the goal is to provide the company with an assessment of the technologies that are available individually and in different combinations, so that they can then take the next step, right, which would be more design and development. So with the result of what we do, you could then take that to an engineering firm to do a design, but you're showing up with a plan of what you want executed. So you're not at the mercy of the engineering firm to sell you what they think you might want or what might benefit them, but rather you have some initial work done. And then we can continue to work with you through that process. So as you're working with vendors, as you're working with designers, we continue to be a resource that you can come back to and ask questions about the costs, about the, what you're being, what their assessments are compared to what we've done. So we will continue to be a resource through procurement and through installation. But it all starts with this initial technical assessment. Next slide. So the way this starts is that you would contact your TAP, which would be me or Suzanne or Rob Sullivan. The contact information is on the last slide. And then we have an initial conversation, 30 to 60-minute Zoom meeting, where we will talk about your site, about your energy usage, about your processes, about your goals, right? What are you trying to accomplish? And with that information, we'll do a little bit of an evaluation to say, does this meet our program, right? Our program coordinator, right, says we don't want to be looking at solar panels on doghouses, right? So we're looking for large energy users, manufacturing ideally, but other large energy users. And then once we kind of get through that initial, test, we'll then collect site data. So we'll work with you to get your energy bills. If you're looking at a battery, we can work with the utility to get interval data, to look at more granular information. The more data that we have, the better our analysis. But this can be a burden to the company. So we will take what you have and work with that. Then we use that data to conduct analysis. We have a team of DOE experts. So there are 10 regional TAPs. Those 10 regional TAPs rely on a team of DOE experts. So if we have a battery system, there are people with expertise in battery systems. And so we will work with our technical teams to conduct an analysis. And then we will meet with you in the end to kind of review the results, answer questions that you might have, maybe go back and tweak a few things, or maybe consider something else that we hadn't previously looked at. Next slide. This is a very condensed example of what our reports look like. This is based on the energy usage in that BAU, the business as usual. Here it's looking at $600,000 annual cost with the fuel for electricity and $150,000 for the boiler fuel. And then we'll look at these different technologies. So the PV, photovoltaic, wind, CHP, and then a combination of PV and CHP being combined heat and power. And then those systems will be sized to meet your needs. And then we'll look at the cost of those systems, the gross capital costs. What's shown on this slide is the net capital cost, and that accounts for different incentives that may be available. There's a more detailed table that has all of those incentives and the assumptions that we made and the fuel costs that we're using in our analysis, so that those can then be evaluated based on, we're not sure that we can count on the ITC tax credit, or what are some other opportunities. So there's a lot more information that's provided. This is a summary, but you can see that for a simple payback, what we've been seeing is that they're often less than 10 years. Again, if you take away the tax credit, these are longer payback periods, but these are still kind of decisions that need to be made. That we do have an emissions reduction calculation. So if your company has sustainability goals, this can be used to help inform those activities. Next slide, please. One of the incentive programs that has been very popular and has worked very well and is a little bit up in the air is the IAC Implementation Grants, or now the ITAC Implementation Grants. These are funded through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which seems to be a little bit less controversial than the Inflation Reduction Act. program is still active. It's on pause as the DOE sorts through the administration's priorities. This does support manufacturing. It does support energy independence. So we're optimistic that this will be resumed soon. And there's a lot of details here. Essentially, it is a 50% cost share. It's a cost reimbursement program. And it has been set up so that you can reapply. If you're doing solar PV, you can get an award for that. If you're doing battery, you can get a separate award for that. So it's based on the measures being taken. It's not necessarily based on a individual applicant. There's some eligibility requirements, one of which is you need an energy assessment done by an IAC, and I believe that CT SMARTE's energy assessments done through the Connecticut IAC would qualify you for that, or the Onsite Energy Technical Assistance Partnership, and there's some third-party assessors that are also available. So this is that initial assessment gives them kind of the green light that these projects have been vetted and qualify for these grants. If you worry about applying for a DOE grant, these are not the usual DOE grants and the complexities. These are administered through a third party called EnergyWorks, and they're very much streamlined and manageable in terms of the application and the contracting. So again, we hope that we'll get some news on that moving forward soon. If this looks to be of interest, I encourage you to go ahead and start the assessment project process so that you have that in hand and are ready to submit once these come back online. Next slide. So we'll also look for financial incentives in your area, right? So one that we've been looking at in Connecticut is this energy storage solutions for battery energy storage systems that is supported by the Connecticut Green Bank and the utilities. And the goal is to reduce the peak load on the grid. And there are both upfront incentives and performance incentives. So on the tables on the right, you can see the incentives for different sizes of systems and power ratings for the batteries. So these are, significant. We estimate that a battery, in terms of its capacity, is about $400 per kilowatt hour. So, these $180 per kilowatt hour is about 50% of that particular component cost. The dollars per kilowatt, those are dispatched. This is largely a virtual power plant type of program where the utility is going to be using the battery during these peak times as a source of energy. There's other programs such as in Maine that are behind the meter and are more geared towards demand response. We found that, we're talking now with utilities as some of these federal incentives start to shift a little bit about other types of projects. So I think even if there's not a published program, we can work with the utilities to let them know what some of the barriers are, and they're very eager to understand what's going on. Next slide. So we work, with end users, which is a lot of our day-to-day work, but we're also working with the utilities, right, with trade associations and the state energy offices. So we try to help end users make those connections, help get information from what's happening in these industrial settings to decision makers, both in the utilities and the state energy offices. Next slide. We're engaged in a number of activities. I mean, we appreciate the opportunity to participate in this webinar, and we hope that leads to more activities in Connecticut. And I think, next slide. Here are the 10 regional TAPs. So I'm the director of the New England TAP, covering the New England states in the upper right. Feel free to call or email. And again, I appreciate the time. Thank you for your attention. And I think I'm turning it back to Chris.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning. My name is Chris Narowski. I'm the energy lead for CONNSTEP. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today to learn about these great programs. I also want to thank Nancy, Tom, and Matt for the information they provided today. If you're interested in working with CBIA or the Onsite TAP, you can reach out to those teams directly through the links that we provided in the chat. If you're interested in participating in the CT SMARTE program, you can scan the QR code that's on your screen now. As Nancy mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, this will take you directly to the program application. You can enter your contact information, and I will follow up with you to discuss your company's specific needs and help guide you through the program.